Hey, what's going on, Louisiana? I'm so pumped that we get to do this. We may not be able to gather in person, but man, I'm telling you, I'm so excited that still this truth is going to penetrate your heart. Real quick, I want to give some love and some honor to Pastor Charlie and the whole team for putting this together. And honestly, real heroes don't always wear capes and hand mics in their hands. The truth is, some of the best heroes that are among us right now, aside from the first responders, are the first responders spiritually, and those are your youth pastors. Come on, if you have the best youth pastor right now, I want you to blow up their phone. Without logging off, blow up their phone, DM them, blow up their Snapchat, let them know, come on, you can do better. They are the ones that answer the phone in the middle of the night. They're there for you when nobody else was. They're the ones praying you out and praying you in, and they're the ones who are going to continue to be there day in, day out, whether there's a pandemic or there's not. I just so honor, listen, youth pastor, I so honor you for what you do for this generation, and it's my honor that we are linking arms still and being able to have an impact together. Now, although we're not there, you can tell I'm right here on the beach. I'm on the West Coast. Here's the Pacific Ocean. Here's the beach. And I've got a hot word for you. But before we get into it, I got to tell you a story, because I know what my friend Manny brought was fire. I love Manny Orango, one of my favorite people. What Eric was saying for missions and pushing Speed the Light forward and be able to advance the kingdom of God, my goodness, that was hot. But the truth is, I want to tell you not how you just receive this, but how you release this. How do you take this in, but then activate this in your life? And so I feel like it's my assignment not just to pull you in, but my assignment is to send you out like an arrow shot out of God's bow with so much momentum. One of the ways I saw this best happen was through one of my students. Her name was Jasmine. Jasmine called me one morning and she said, "Hey, Pastor Chris, I need to talk to you. I'm on the phone." She says, "Pastor Chris, I need to talk to you right now." I said, "Well, we're on the phone." She says, "Nah, fam, I need to talk to you face to face. I need to talk to you right now." And so I said, "Okay, no problem." So I went to my wife. I said, "Hey, you okay if I pick up Jasmine? We're running through Starbucks." And I asked, "What's going on?" She said, "Sure." So we're in the drive-thru at Starbucks. And I turn over to Jasmine, and she says, "Pastor Chris, I got to tell you something." I said, "Why do you have me out here so early in the morning picking you up right before school? It's a Monday morning." And she said, "Pastor Chris, you need to listen." Now, I have learned something about the female race. When they do this right here, their finger, boom, just this right here. When this happens, when somehow, ladies, your neck has permission. This is like a button. Your neck has permission to be 30 feet longer than it just was 2.7 seconds ago. You go from girl to giraffe like that. "Pastor Chris, you need to listen. Pastor Chris, you need to listen." And so I remember she said this. I'm telling you, her neck got so long, I felt like both sides of her head touched my car. And so I said, "Jasmine, what's up?" She said, "On Friday, I was given an assignment in my speech class, and I'm supposed to give a 2-minute speech on something important and valuable to happen in my life, something significant." I said, "Okay." And she said, "Well, I was praying over the weekend, and God spoke to me. He wants me to share my testimony in my speech class." Now, when I heard that, I got really excited. I'm going to explain your youth pastor for a second, because we're a unique breed. When we have a student tell us that they're going to take a public stand for Jesus in their public school, we tend to get a little excited. So she said, "I'm going to do it." I said, "You sure you're going to do it?" And she's doing it. I said, "You better do that." I said, "You better not be a sissy and not do that. You better do that." And so she said, "Yeah, I'm going to do it." But this is what she said. She said, "Can you help me? I need some help. Can you coach me on how to share my testimony?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "You better listen. I'm going to tell you." Jasmine's a cute chocolate girl. Now listen, you got to understand, I'm a Hispanic caramel brother. Come on, are there any caramel people watching the video? Come on, let me hear you, right? But also, are there any chocolate folk? Come on, we're the chocolate folk. Everybody loves some chocolate. And then, of course, we're not going to forget about how many of you love some whipped cream. We love the whipped cream people, too. I remember Jasmine, she says, "Pastor Chris," I said, "You better do that." I said, "You better do that. You better not be a sissy and not do that. You better do that." And she said, "I'm going to do it." And she said, "Can you tell me how?" I said, "You better focus right here, girl." I said, "You better focus." And she said, "Okay." She was a cute chocolate girl. I almost grabbed her by her braids. I said, "You better listen right now." And she said, "Tell me." I said, "All you do is make Jesus famous. This is it. This is all you do. You make Jesus famous. You can talk about all the garbage and all the junk that happened in your life, but you make sure that the majority of that time is spent on giving God the credit that He's worth." She said, "Okay." So we get to the school, we get a little early, right? We turn up the worship music, we start praying over everybody and everything. I start praying, kids are walking in front of my car, and I'm like, "In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus." It was intense, it was awesome. She says, "Hey, I gotta get in." So she gets in, her speech class is her second period class. She goes into her speech class, she goes in her first period class, and she says, she just says she does nothing. She learns nothing. She just sits there and she starts praying. And she is praying in the spirit. She's like, she's praying in the spirit. Then the bell rings and she walks over to speech class. Now, how many of you know this moment, the moment you're about to do the moment that comes right before you're about to do what God asked you to do? So she goes over and she gets her speech class. She's already now talked herself out. I'm not going to do it. Too big of a risk. Too many people are going to. I'm going to feel humiliated. I'm going to feel embarrassed. I'm not going to do it. So she goes and she sits down. Boom, lockdown, just like this. And so I remember Jasmine. She says she gets in and the teacher comes in. And of course, anytime there's presentations, come on, what do the teachers ask? Are there any volunteers? And so one of these kids says, I'll go. So this kid goes and he has a seat, does a great job, has a seat. And sits back down in his chair. Then the teacher goes, are there any more volunteers? And so nobody's knocking, and Jasmine's sitting there. She's on lockdown. Boom, I ain't doing nothing. Well, then finally the teacher goes, okay, no volunteers. Jasmine, why don't you come on up here? And Jasmine's like, she's walking up there, and she's like, I can't believe that. I see you, God. I see you, but I can't believe that. We're going to talk about it later. So she sits down, and she says, listen, I want to tell you, my 2-minute speech is about the day I gave my life to Jesus. She said this in a public classroom. It was like all the air got sucked out of the room. Just like this. Everybody went like this. Even the teacher went like, what? She could not believe what had just happened. And so sure enough, here comes Jasmine, and she just starts going for it. She says, a lot of you know me. I used to get in trouble a lot. I used to fight all the time. I used to get in trouble for dealing drugs. I used to get high all the time. She even looked at a kid in class, the kid in the front row. She's like, remember, you and I used to get high all the time. And the kid's like, oh, I remember I was high. That's the way it worked. And so she says, but my friend invited me to church. And she said, man, I came the first week and I liked it. I came back the second week and people were kind to me. I came back the third week and I felt like God was speaking to me. She came back the fourth week, and I'm telling y'all right now, the fourth week, it was a game changer. She took 1 foot after our pre-service prayer. She took 1 foot inside our sanctuary and pow, went out under the power of God. I'm telling you, listen, there's a difference between the way caramel, whipped cream, and chocolate cries, all right? Caramel be crying like this. We just keep the same face. Just like that. Whipped cream, whipped cream be trying to have a conversation while they're crying. But let me tell you something about my chocolate family. Come on, chocolate family, talk to me. You know that you got this game on lock. I'm telling you, when Jasmine went down, boom, she started screaming, Jesus! She is screaming all over the place. The power of God is all over her. She did this the whole night. The whole night. I'm telling you, we had to lead worship over that. We had to preach over that. We had to do announcements over that. It was powerful. But let me tell you something. Jasmine fell down, but she got up different. See, I don't care if you fall. I care that you walk away different. And Jasmine began to understand what so many of you are starting to understand, that the power of God came on their life. You gave your life through Jesus, and when you heard Manny speaking, you felt the call of God on your life when Eric was ministering, and now you're in a moment where, how do I take these risks and release it? Well, Jasmine's sharing the class, and we have never trained our students to just share the gospel, but to demonstrate. She turns to a girl in the front row with her leg in a brace. She says, God just healed your leg. This girl takes her leg out of the brace. Boom, she starts walking on it. Oh my gosh, she gets healed in front of the whole class. She turns to a guy in the back of the classroom. The back of the classroom was in. He had his arm in a brace. She said, take your arm in the brace. God just healed your arm. He's like, okay. So he takes his arm out of the brace. He's like, bruh. God totally heals his arm. Then she turns to the teacher and says, Miss So-and-so, you've doubted God real since you're a little girl, but these are 2 signs to you that God is real. And she throws her arm, the power of God hits the teacher, and she calls out of her chair on the floor and has a 2-minute visitation from Jesus. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is what it means to be fused, to be released, and to be ruined. And if I could give you anything right now, it's that you are not here just to have an online encounter, an online service. No, God is ruining you for normal. He is ruining you for average. He is ruining you for weakness. He's ruining you for fear. It's time that we step in and start walking this. And I cannot wait about the testimonies. My prayer is that what Jasmine's story is not unique. that Jasmine's story becomes common, that in schools across America, we are seeing a full-on release of the goodness of God everywhere we go, and we watch a demonstration of God's power. I challenge you. I text somebody, DM someone, see what God can do. Ask if they need a miracle. Ask if they need a breakthrough. Ask if they need prayer. Ask if they need hope. Ask that, and you watch as God, the Spirit of God comes on you, and you become dangerous for good. If I could leave you with any point, it's you're not called to be normal. You are ruined for normal. You're not here to be average. You're not here to be like everyone else. God has so put his fingerprints all over your life that you're not going to be the mediocre, the average. You are going to be a cut above, the tip of the spear, the arrow out of God's bow. You're going to be sent with authority, and you're going to be released in power. Man, it has been my honor to have this moment with you. I look forward to hearing the testimonies. Hit me up online and tell me what God's been doing in you and through you at Fusion Remix. I love you guys.